Hey! What's going on, y'all? Now, this is a continuation on the video that I did yesterday talking about the November 21st transit we'll be having with Venus going into Scorpio. Now, like I already discussed in the previous video, Venus going into Scorpio is going to activate these energies that we're going to be seeing from ourselves or either other people, which is going to be, we're going to feel like if you didn't feel passionate or in love with something, whether it's even a person, place, or thing, a partner, a item that you value, you're actually there's going to be a shift and you're going to realize how much you actually appreciate and value person, place, or thing, this person, place, or thing. And then you're going to attract a bunch of obsessive people too, possibly. Or people who want to get in your pants. Or people who want to be in your wallet or everything like that. Because Scorpio in the 8th house rules shared values too. And this is Venus. And Venus deals with money too in a lot of different ways because it's ruled by Taurus, which is the opposite of Scorpio. So that could play out too. And then, pardon me, there's even a possibility you could attract a lot of wealth too in your life with Venus being in Scorpio, because since it's other people's resources, like for example, with the whole, stupid ass coronavirus situation and everything, they're giving out grants and all that good shit. So that energy of grants falls into this house, the 8th house. Shared values, grants, loans. This could be a time where that shit, once November 21st hits, that shit could be accumulated. Like you'll probably have open access and be able to grab that shit right there. And then in a lot of different ways, you may attract people who may tell you all their secrets, or you may, attract people who want you to tell them your secrets in some way, shape, or form, whether they manipulate a situation or whatnot. So taking all that into consideration, Venus going into Scorpio, in a basic definition, there's going to be a deep intensity and a deep depth on the things that we relate to, that we love, and that we value. But now I wanted to explain real quickly how this affects each of our houses. Well, when I say that, like, for example, let's start with the first house. This is if you have Scorpio in your first house, Scorpio rising. So that means Venus is transiting your first house. So with Venus transiting your first house, what this is going to do is that you're going to deeply value. You may even become obsessive with your own self, with your own physical appearance, because the first house rules physical appearances too. And you may be deeply obsessed and deeply into the things that you're personally into and your own self-interest. So basically with this transit, you got to be very, very careful. And then Venus already does kind of poorly in the first house, because the first house is dealing with your personality and yourself. I am. But Venus is dealing with relatability and love. Venus rules Libra in the 7th house, which is the complete opposite. So you got to be very careful not to be too indulgent on your own personal interests and not step on other people's toes based upon the things that you're interested in. Now, when you have Venus, if you have Venus going into your second house, forgive my drawing, y'all. This would be if you have a Scorpio second house. So this would be a Libra rising. Now with Scorpio going into not Scorpio, but with Venus going into your second house, it's like Venus does good in the second house because it rules the second house. But since Scorpio is being influenced and being juxtaposed with that energy, if you have a Libra rising or a Scorpio second house, you're going to deeply value the things that you possess and your material gains also, but you may become obsessive over these things, and you may not want to share your values, or you may not want to share your resources with other people. You may develop some greedy ass energy with Venus going into Scorpio and it also being in your second house. So be very careful and learn how to balance your own desires and what you desire with your values and with what you possess. And don't become too attached to the things that you possess. Now, let's say you have Venus going into your third house. If you have a Scorpio third house, so this would be like this would be a Virgo rising. If you have Venus going into your third house, you're going to be obsessed with wanting to relate to your neighbors. So let's say you weren't really a social person. Let's say you were kind of like a loner and you never really related to people in your local surroundings. Pardon me. Or even family, close family members. Now you're going to feel this urge more than ever to want to relate to people in your surroundings. short distance travels. You may want to run over to the local library or the local store and want to spark conversation or do something relatable with people. Now you got to be careful because you don't want to like be obsessed with this to where you're doing this just for selfish reasons. You're not, and like you have to make sure that your intent is pure if you want to relate to these people. You have this transit going on and you have the power, but it's being juxtaposed by Scorpio. So you may become obsessed with wanting to relate to people. Or you may actually attract people who are very passionate just like you, because Scorpio rules passion also. Okay, now let's say you got Venus. Sorry about not really having like the I might have to go get a different Sharpie, but basically Venus going into your 4th house and it being juxtaposed by Scorpio. If you didn't relate already to certain family members or people in your home, or if you didn't value the house that you actually lived in, this makes more sense too because Venus is a green planet. If you didn't value your home before, you're going to value it more than ever. You're going to kind of realize like, wow, I've really been taking my home for granted. Wow, I have a roof over my head. I've really been taking this shit for granted. You may appreciate this shit more now. But you got to be careful that you don't go too overboard. And like you have to make sure that your intent is pure. You don't want to, burn yourself out because you weren't like contributing to your family, or you weren't, let's say you lived with your family but you weren't contributing with bills or stuff like that. You're going to feel this urge more than ever. But at the same time, you don't want to run your pockets empty because you still have to preserve yourself. You still need to preserve your family, but you have to preserve yourself too. This is where that square learning process comes with the 1st and the 4th house. More details on that in other videos. So yeah, but at the same time, you may have to learn, because with Scorpio in the 4th house period, so this would be if you had a Leo rising. So Scorpio in your 4th house period, there's going to be a lot of power struggles, because Scorpio deals with power struggles too, because it's ruled by Pluto and Mars. But now with this Venus energy here, you're going to realize like, okay, I need to be more relatable. I need to add more harmony into my living quarters. But you don't want to like burn yourself out. Basically what it is you don't want to be too relatable to where you lose track of your own self. Now, let's say you have this going on in your 5th house. Venus going on in your 5th house, this would be, if you have Scorpio in the 5th house, which would make you a Cancer rising. So, with the Venus, so you're going to like be obsessed with wanting to be entertained or entertain people. Or you may have more of an urge to want to be around children or play with children or have a pet or even go gamble or go see a movie. And you may want to go do all the things. You may want to do all the fun activities with Venus going on in the 5th house, because Venus is your sensations, how you relate to people, what you love. You may love entertainment to your detriment too, because Scorpio, that compulsive, obsessive energy, you may be obsessed with the things that you are entertained by. And this could include gambling too. So you got to be very, very, very careful that you don't overindulge too much in this energy. Now let's say you have this going on in, that was bothering me. Let's say you have this going on in the 6th house. So Scorpio 6th house, this would mean that you have a Gemini rising. So Scorpio 6th house, Venus in the 6th house. Venus doesn't do too well in the 6th house. Matter of fact, it's in its fallen state. Pardon me. In the 6th house. But essentially what this means in a nutshell is you're going to be very relatable in your workspace. If you haven't felt this energy really before, if you like weren't relating to people that you work with, you're going to feel this urge now. But since Scorpio is here, you got to be very careful that you don't, be too relatable in the workplace to where you hear somebody at work tell you something that you didn't want to hear, a dark secret that's kind of fucked you up now and everything. Or they try to get you, or they try to bait you into wanting to tell them a secret. Now you feel vulnerable and everything. So you got to be very, 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 very careful with Venus going on in the 6th house. Venus falls in the 6th house. And the reason that is because the 6th house rules details. And Venus is all about love and value and aesthetics and, beautiful clothes and everything. So when you're looking too much at the details of something like like this pen, this marker, it's nice, it's symmetrical and everything, it's got a nice shape and everything. But if you look too much at the details of this thing, you're going to lose the beauty. That beauty is going to lose sight of itself because you've paid too much attention to the details. Now you can't just appreciate, aka Venus rules appreciation, the thing that you were observing in the first place. Venus in the 7th house. Now if you have Venus going on in the 7th house, this means that you're a Taurus rising. So you have Scorpio in your 7th house. Now, with Venus in the 7th house, Venus rules the 7th house. So there's going to be a lot of an energy of wanting to be relatable. If you're single, you may actually want to have this urge of wanting to find a partner. But since Scorpio is being juxtaposed here, you may want to, if you find that partner or if you find that person that you're into, you may be very controlling. You may not want to ever let this person go and everything. And that's very natural for people to feel that way because when we're in deep, intimate relationships, we don't want that person to go. But if you're just starting off like the relationship with like, I don't want you to do this, and adding in all these restrictions and everything, then it could be to your detriment. But knowing that that energy is there, you can learn to balance that. Use that Venus in the 7th house to attract the person that you resonate with and the person that you really need in your life. Learn that that Scorpio energy is being juxtaposed and don't be too controlling. Don't be too possessive with these people that you're trying to form a partnership and a union with. Okay, now, let's say you have Venus going on in your 8th house. So this would be if you had a Scorpio 8th house, which means you're an Aries rising. So, Scorpio rules the 8th house. So this energy, if you have this placement right here, you're dealing with this energy just how it is. You're going to be attracting people who tell you their secrets. You're going to be attracting people. You're going to be attracting dark, taboo situations possibly. And then this house also rules shared values. So Venus in the house of shared values, you're going to witness a lot of energies of attracting money from other sources and everything like that. More than if you're an Aries rising right now and you're noticing that you have Venus going on in your 8th house, make sure you call all these places. If you have small businesses or everything like that, make sure you call all these places. Ask for some grants, ask for some loans, look the shit up, do your research and everything. And then also you're just gonna and your sex life, not your sex life, but when I say your sex, I'm talking about like the intimate passion of sex and everything. This shit will be heightened too because Venus rules the sensation. So this shit may be extra heightened. So if you are in a relationship and y'all are, getting into the bed and doing what y'all do and everything, this shit will be heightened too. And then also you may want to relate when it comes to the occult because the 8th house rules the occult too and like astrology and everything. So you may attract people where you want to relate this kind of stuff. And you may actually attract people that are very comfortable talking about occult shit with you. Now, let's say you have Venus going on in your 9th house. So this would be if your Scorpio is in your 9th house and you're a Pisces rising. So this is actually the transit that I'm going through. Or will be going through. Now, Venus going on in the 9th house. Excuse me, one second, y'all. All right, now Venus going on in your 9th house. What this is going to intake is that you're going to attract people who give you a deep philosophy about certain things. Or you may attract people who are very dark or you may attract, or put it this way, you may find yourself in a situation where you're attracting a situation to where you're in a dark situation or you're in a dark place, aka Scorpio, and you're learning about this dark energy and everything because the 9th house rules higher mental exploration. So actually in a lot of different ways, this could be you may want to relate to yourself more. You may want to you may be in an energy where you have to value your own like mental and the way you think and the way you believe and the way that you interact with different peoples of different cultures. And then it's in Scorpio too, so it's deep and it's it can be very taboo too at the same time. So Venus going on in the 9th house, you got to make sure that you're able to relate to people from different cultures and everything in a way to where you don't attract dark taboo situations. And then also, you may want to relate your deep moral philosophies to other people. And then they, depending on their energy, they may be comfortable actually relating these things to you. Now let's say you have Scorpio in your 10th house. So this would be if you're a Aquarius rising and you have Scorpio in your 10th house. Pardon me. Now, Venus going on in your 10th house. Now, I have this energy natally in my chart. Venus in the 10th house. This means you're going to attract a lot of notoriety. You're going to attract a lot of attention. Your reputation is going to be more magnified because Venus rules beauty and value, and it rules aesthetics and the five senses. So people are gonna see your reputation. But with Scorpio being in the 10th house, it could be you may attract attention, unwarranted attention. The attention you may attract is people going into your private business and revealing these and relating this to other people. Now your status is based upon people tarnishing your image based upon behind the scenes things that you were keeping secret. And now because Venus is here, people want to relate that. And now since this is the 10th house, this is your reputation and this is your status. So you got to be very, 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 very careful with that energy right now. Now, if you have Venus going on in your 11th house, this would mean you have a Scorpio 11th house, meaning you're a Capricorn rising. Now, what this is going to intake is that your the 11th house is your associations. These are the people that you go and start an organization with. These are groupthink kind of energies too. It also rules your friends. The 3rd house is more so like your neighbors. The 7th house is your relationships one-on-one. And the 11th house is like the actual friends that you meet. And even associations too at the same time. And since it's Scorpio, you may attract very interesting associations. Very dark associates. Very associates who are passionate about the same shit that you're passionate about. And it's in the 11th house too. And it's Venus too. So y'all are going to be able to relate different ideas with each other and be able to bounce back from each other to where y'all can actually come up with a whole collective plan to help humanity. But this depends on the other people that you're associating with. And with Scorpio being here, you got to make sure that these people don't have their own alternative motives or agendas. Okay, and last but not least, let's say you got Venus going on in your 12th house. So this would be you having a Scorpio 12th house, meaning that you are a Sagittarius rising. Now, Venus going into your 12th house, Venus is exalted in the 12th house. So you got to be very, 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 very careful that you don't overindulge in your dreams. You got to be because exalted energy is not always positive. It is positive because you have all the energy in the world to be able to go about the energy of, in this case, dreams, fantasy, illusions. But the 12th house also deals with solidarity and also the undoing of certain things because it's the last house. It's like, this is the final stage. I need to get my shit together. Also, it rules on isolation and kind of being a loner too. And with Venus being in the 12th house, you may go overboard with that shit. You may be all in your head. You may be all in fantasy realm, in creativity world. And then Scorpio being here, you got to make sure you don't associate yourself with people who are too obsessed with their own dreams that they're willing to tarnish your dreams for their own. And then on your end, you got to be very careful that you're not. You got to be very careful that you're actually wanting to chase your own goals and everything and not be so lost in, like I said, Pisces land, an illusion that you may be caught up in. And then since Scorpio is being juxtaposed in this 12th house, you got to make sure that you're not obsessive and compulsive with your own desires of what you want to see in your dreams and everything like that. The illusions you have in your head, you'll believe that this shit is true with Scorpio being here. And that's Venus going through the 12 houses, y'all. I love y'all. I'm going to be making a video later on today talking about the sun going through Sagittarius too. So I'm going to catch y'all later. I love y'all. And make sure you check out the website. Peace.